We have another Sentinel Spidey KO in our hands, but is it any good? Let's find out. Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video we're gonna take a look at the Sentinel Spider-Man Noir knockoff from AliExpress. Of course, this is the version of the character from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse animated movie that I really enjoyed. I did review previous Sentinel KOs of Peter B, Miles and Gwen. All of them are on the channel, and if you want to check them out, I'll leave links in the video description. Those previous KOs are, well, fine. I also do have the original Sentinel Peter B, and when you compare it to the KO, you can see how much better the original is. That's to be expected, of course, but now we'll see how good is this guy here. It's one of the newest KOs on AliExpress, so we'll see, maybe the quality improved. As always, first a quick look at the packaging. It's a standard box and design for all Sentinel Spider-Verse figures. We have a nice big promo shot of the figure on the front of the box, only two very small windows showing the two heads. Side of the box has some nice close-up shots of the figure. Back of the box shows the figure swinging through the air, and there is no Marvel logos on the box. There are some more promo shots of the figure on the other side of the box. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse logo on the top, legalese on the bottom. So now, let's open this up and let's take a look at the figure. Here is our Spider-Man Noir KO out of the box, and I must say that the figure looks and feels really good. The plastic doesn't feel cheap, unlike on previous Miles and Gwen, for example. This guy feels really good. The joints are nice and sturdy, nothing is loose or even stiff, although I would always suggest that you heat up the plastic with a hairdryer before you start messing around with the articulation. As you can see, the silhouette looks good, even though I still didn't attach the two lower pieces of the coat that are packed like accessories. So we'll get to them in a minute. But this is how the figure looks straight out of the box. I don't see any major problems with the sculpt, no imperfections in the plastic, so that's interesting. In terms of paint, it's a fully black figure. The only tone variation that I can see here is on the head, the neck and the strap around the hat. Those are in a slightly lighter black tone than the rest of the figure. His goggle lenses are light gray with white lines that represent shine, so overall the figure feels and looks really good. Taking a closer look at the details, starting off with the head, it looks good. Web lines are sculpted and well painted, so no issues there. The hat is not removable, at least I don't think that it is, but the overall sculpt of the hat and the head looks pretty good. The web lines do not go over the whole head, as you can see. There are a few of them in the front, and we get two of them in the back. They are missing on the rest of the head, but that's how the design was for this character in the movie. The color of the coat looks good, and so does the rest of it. The shoulders are nicely sculpted so that they look like a continuation of the coat. Sleeves on the arms also look good with all these sculpted wrinkles. We have big rounded elbow joints that do work in this case because they do blend with the rest of the arms. Here are his gloved fisted hands. Torso looks good with these sculpted buttons. The belt looks nice and clean with all of these small pouches. It's not a separate piece, but the holster is, and it's on a swivel so you can move it out of the way when you are posing the figure. He has long legs, but again, that's how the character looked in the movie. I do want to point out that these kneecaps are painted in a different shade of black. They are darker and much more shiny than the rest of his pants. Now, I don't know if these should be some kind of knee protectors or they should just be a part of the pants. If that's the case, then the slight difference in the tone of black could maybe bother some people. Here's a look at his high boots that are also really well sculpted. And then here is the back of the figure where you can see the unfinished coat. And there are 4 peg holes here, 2 of the smaller ones on each side here, and then 2 of bigger ones on the inside of the coat. And that is where you will connect the rest of the pieces so that you can end up with the full coat. Let's now take a look at his accessories. First, he does come with an instruction manual, and it's just a folded piece of paper. Then, as I already mentioned, you get these 2 lower parts of the coat. You can see the pegs on the top, and they are on a hinge. They can swivel, so that is where you will get some of the movement for your coat. The sculpt of these pieces is nice. You also get these 2 straps that connect to the smaller holes on the back of the coat. He comes with an alternate masked head, and this one is without out the head, and it's practically the same head. And here you can see the web lines even better on the face and going over the top of the head and then coming back on the back side. And another closer look at the goggles, and you can see those white lines that should represent the reflectiveness in the lenses. And then he comes with a bunch of interchangeable hands. First we saw that a pair of fisted hands is already on the figure. We get a pair of gripping hands for holding his web, a pair of relaxed hands, a pair of dynamic open hands, a pair of wall crawling hands, a pair of hands for holding his hat, a pair of web shooting hands, and the web effects are connected to the hands. You get one trigger finger hand, and then you get two types of pistols, guns with a different design. Both of these are simple, they are just molded in the black plastic, there is no weathering on it, but for what it is, the sculpt looks pretty good. And then you get this small accessory, and this is a lit up match. It's so small that you need to be careful not to lose it. And for this, you can use these same gripping hands for gripping the hat, because these will grip the match as well. Both guns fit perfectly in the trigger finger hand, so that's good. And both guns do fit in the holster, even the one that is thicker, so that is good to see. It's a working holster, so he can storage his gun. We can try to switch the heads. This one just pops off, no issues there, and we simply pop on the alternate head. It fits perfectly, the articulation is there, it works great. My only issue with this figure is that the head is not removable and there is no extra head that you can use in this set. For, let's say you want to pose him like he took off his head and he holds it in his hands, so you can't do that, unfortunately. Switching out the hands, that is also easy, and you can see that the wrist peg is a bit long, and we put on the alternate trigger finger hand with a gun, and this looks really good. He also comes with a pair of web effects, and these fit perfectly in the gripping hands, like this, for swinging. And he also comes with a stand that you have to assemble yourself, and this is the same stand that all Sentinel Spider-Verse figures come with. Now, to put these pieces in, I strongly suggest that you heat up the plastic first. Heat up these peg holes so that the plastic becomes a bit softer, and then it will be easier for these pegs to connect to the peg holes. Like this. And then we have these smaller pieces that we need to insert here and on the other side as well. And this is how our Sentinel Spider-Man Noir looks with his fully assembled coat. This looks fantastic, and you can see it from the back as well. Usually I'm not a fan of plastic robes. I would prefer for this to be soft goods, and I know that the SH Figure Arts is coming out with their version of this guy, and they are using soft goods material that is wired, if I'm not mistaken, so I'm sure that that one will be much more poseable, but this still works and it looks really good. Let's now take a look at his articulation. The head and the neck give you a nice range of movement all around. He can tilt side to side and rotate. He can look down all the way up this much because the head will hit the collar here. There is no real butterfly joint here, but we do get a little bit of movement there. Arms rotate all the way. They go out this much. There is no bicep swivel, but we do get a little bit of swivel in the elbow. Elbow bends all the way. We have a swivel in the wrists, and with that ball peg you can hinge the hand in any direction. There are two cuts in the torso. One is up here and the other one is behind the belt, so together they will give you side to side movement and a nice side to side tilt. This is how far he can bend forward, and here is how far he can bend back. The holster is on a swivel, so it does move out of the way. There is no drop down in the hips, but the legs have a different type of articulation than what we previously saw on their Spider-Verse figures. Here you can see the joint on the side, so that is where you will get your legs moving out motion. So the legs can actually spread all the way, which is fantastic. But then you would think that you need to rotate that joint to bring it forward so that the legs can move forward or back, but no, you still get the forward movement like this, and as you can see he can kick pretty high, and then the legs go back as well. Then we get a tie cut, double jointed knees, a swivel in the ankles, feet move forward forward this much, back this much, there is a toe joint and a nice ankle pivot. And on top of all that, as you saw, we have few articulation points in the coat. These small pieces are on the hinge, they can move in any direction, and then the lower pieces of the coat can also hinge like this, and they can swivel out to the side like this. So those will give you some nice posing options for your dynamic poses for this guy. So all in all, I have to say that I'm pleasantly surprised by the articulation of this figure, because I thought for some reason that this guy will be really limited because of the plastic coat, but it turned out that that's not the case. Let's now compare this guy to some other figures. Here is how he scales with some of the previous Sentinel Spider-Verse KOs. We have him next to Spider-Gwen, Peter Porker, and on the other side we have a KO of Sentinel Miles Morales. And then here is how he scales with Sentinel Peter B. Parker KO on the left and the original Sentinel Peter B. Parker on the right. Noir is taller than both of these guys, which I feel like is accurate. Here is how he scales with the original Mafex Miles Morales and original Mafex Peter B. Parker. Here is how he scales with the original Mafex Peter Porker and Spider-Gwen. Here is how he scales with the original SH Figuarts Gwen and Miles. And then here he is next to the original SH Figuarts Spider-Punk and the City Toys knockoff of the SH Figuarts Spider-Man 2099. And just to compare him with few other KOs from AliExpress, here he is next to the Amazing Yamaguchi Revoltech KO of Moon Knight and the City Toys KO of Revoltech Agent Venom. So there you go, that was my look at the Sentinel Spider-Man Noir KO from AliExpress. I am pleasantly surprised by the quality of this copy. I did not expect that, especially after reviewing the previous KOs from this same line. Those were fine, not terrible, still good for the price, but this guy is on a different level. He looks good, feels good, articulation works perfectly, no loose or too tight joints, and on top of all that, he comes with all the accessories that you get with the original release. In case you want to have this guy in your collection and you can't get the original release, I would strongly recommend that you get this KO. You know how it goes with KOs. Quality consistency is not always a thing, but if you get the same thing that I got here, you will be very satisfied with this copy. I leave a link to where I got it down in the video description. But those were all just my thoughts, and now I would love to hear yours. What do you think about this KO? How does it look to you? Do you plan on getting it or not? Do you maybe have the original? And if you do, please share with us how does this KO compare to the real thing. As always, a huge shout out goes to my Patreon supporters for helping me to keep making these videos. If anyone else can join and help, please do so, because everything earned goes into the channel's content. Patreon link is also in the description. Super thanks option is available for those who want to support the channel in that way. Of course, you are still helping simply by watching and sharing my videos, so thank you all for watching, thank you for being here with me, and I'll see ya in the next video.